Hey everybody, this is Rebel Builder and I'm back with another LEGO Star Wars MOC. This time it's something a little unusual. This is what's called an ugly starfighter. And if you're not familiar with that concept, there's a great Star Wars explained video that I'm going to link to down in the description, which will kind of explain some of the not so canon history about these ugly starfighters. But what this is really supposed to be is a mashup of two existing starfighters. So this one is called the Z Interceptor, and this is supposed to be a combination of a Z-95 Headhunter and a TIE Interceptor. And if you're familiar with my channel and some of my other builds, some of this will look a little familiar. You can see this section here and the wings on the side. I used my TIE Interceptor design at least as much as I could. Really, I ended up building more of it, especially on these wing sections, and kind of had to scale back from there. But you also see I built it all with dark bluish gray instead of light bluish gray to give it some distinction between what was the TIE Interceptor and what was the Z-95 Headhunter. And my inspiration from this build really came from seeing the Star Wars explained video, and then also I had some comments of people suggesting I build one of these, so I looked into it a little bit, and I used this image here for my main inspiration. And really, if you look closely, I think you'll kind of notice I leaned more heavily on the X-Wing than a Z-95 Headhunter, but really they're pretty close for the fuselage design. I used the new Force Awakens X-Wing fighter cockpit piece. You know, that's such a spectacular piece. In the back here, I kind of borrowed some designs from, you know, the 2012 X-Wing, you know, kind of these inverted slopes in the back, and really kind of just went crazy here in the front. This whole build was really just a fun exercise in greebling and different techniques, and I really wanted to challenge myself to build in some different directions and use some new, you know, parts, or, you know, some techniques I haven't done or I'm not very good at. Mainly this whole section here, you know, it's built at funny angles, and I used a lot of the bricks with studs on the side to kind of build out sideways from there, and kind of coming up with this cannon design. You know, it's not quite an X-Wing cannon, but definitely uses some of these round pieces and say like the front of the cannon here, which are familiar to the X-Wing. And it's kind of silly on the front, but they have a droid dome as the very front of the ship, so I stuck an R2 unit there on the front. On top of the TIE Interceptor section, there's this big cannon here, and I really like how this turned out. Just different parts going in different directions, and really took some creative license trying to come up with something there, but using that image again for some inspiration. And I didn't put it on a turntable. What I did is I just have one of these studs here, and this guy just fits on here. You know, what this allows me to do is to turn it if I want, and you do need to turn it to open up the cockpit back here, but you can point it forward and it's going to stay forward that way. You know, I kind of get a little annoyed when, you know, things like cannons are flopping around. And the side of the fuselage here has some cool detail, and really this is just kind of covering up any lack of basic shape from the X-Wing or Z-95. You know, just really trying to do whatever I can, use some bars, different flick fire missiles here, and you can see underneath I had some of those really cool hose pieces. And here's a better look at the rear of the fuselage. And again, just some fun exercises in greebling, you know, some detail here. And it's kind of the idea of you're taking, you know, what would be like the basic shape of the X-Wing or a Z-95, and then you kind of take some sections out and just kind of throw some junk in there. And it's really fun to do, but it takes a little patience. You gotta kind of experiment. You know, you throw some parts on there, see if you like it, and then you just kind of keep changing it and using all these little pieces that really aren't meant to be used as greebling, and you come up with some cool designs. Now, I think my favorite section of this build, the part that I'm most proud of, is the engine section here and these kind of connections. I, you know, mostly just borrowed the X-Wing engines there, but I added these T-pieces here, you know, just a couple of tiles going in there, but this kind of mess of different arms different kind of junk kind of clinging, you know, the engines to the TIE Interceptor body to the wings on the side. And really, that was challenging, but I'm happy with what I ended up using. Kind of the main piece that really did it for me were these dark bluish gray battle droid arms. I used quite a bit of those on this thing. Maybe I used 20, but I really like how this, you know, this mess, this, you know, kind of conglomeration of mechanical arms and stuff connecting all these pieces together really kind of looks junky, but really kind of elegant at the same time. And here's a better look at the rear of the engines. You can see I used the transparent dark pink domes there, and really just kind of came up with my own design for the engine here, kind of looking at the X-Wing and the Z95, but just, you know, using some of those similar pieces, but, you know, wasn't beholden to any specific design. And here's my TIE Interceptor wing design. You can see this matches pretty much what I used on my TIE Interceptor MOC. I actually built the whole wing that way, and then I kind of had to modify the section here. So I started with the whole section and then kind of took some pieces off. You know, once I came up with the design to put all these pieces connecting onto here. And I think the dark bluish gray looks cool. It makes me kind of wonder what an entire dark bluish gray TIE Interceptor would look like. And here's a look at the cockpit. You can see I have a tile with the Star Wars printed computer on there. I'm not really known for doing super detailed cockpits. You know, I kind of focus on the main shape of the ship, and kind of by the time I get down to wanting to do details for the cockpit, I'm kind of out of creative energy. But you can see the pilot here, I really just took a Rebel trooper and stuck an X-Wing pilot helmet on him, you know, with some gray sections on it to kind of match. Really, you know, since these ships are kind of almost pirate ships, or, you know, they're not really specifically Rebellion or Imperial starships, so I didn't want to use like a TIE fighter pilot or a real Rebel X-Wing pilot. I really loved all the challenges on this MOC, you know, the different techniques and the different greebles and stuff, you know, here in the front, and as I mentioned on the side sections here. I love doing that kind of thing. It's hard because you kind of don't really know exactly what you're going to do, what pieces you're going to use, and it takes a lot of experimentation. But once it kind of clicks, it really does click, and it was a lot of fun to build. I know I say that about most of my MOCs, but I'm really kind of happy how this one turned out. But that's all for my Z-Ceptor MOC here, so I'd appreciate it if you thumbs up this video and leave me a comment. Let's have a discussion. What do you guys think about this? Is this just kind of crazy? For me, it was cool to get out of my TIE Fighter rut a little bit, even though I really did build half of a TIE Fighter, I guess. But I'd love to hear what you guys think, and if you're new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. I'm going to try to get some new builds going, and you don't want to miss out on those. So thanks for watching, everybody. I'll be back soon.